Today's story begins with a question that echoes through time. What happens when a nation decides it has been silent for too long? On November 17, 1989, the streets of Prague answered that question. Students gathered for what began as a peaceful march. They carried no weapons, only candles, only voices, only hope. Yet their steps triggered one of the most important political transformations of the 20th century. This day marked the beginning of what the world would later call the Velvet Revolution. A revolution so peaceful, so disciplined, that it changed a nation without firing a single shot. But the path was not silent. When police forces clashed with the unarmed students, the truth became impossible to hide. A spark spread across the entire country. Workers, artists, teachers, parents, and even former political prisoners joined the movement. In a matter of days, millions of people were demanding freedom from a government that had ruled for more than 4 decades. What made this event so important? It proved that a united people are more powerful than any war or any regime. It showed the world that courage does not always roar. Sometimes it speaks softly, stands firmly, and refuses to disappear. The positive impact was profound. Czechoslovakia peacefully ended communist rule and began a new chapter built on democracy, human rights, and free expression. Within weeks, the old government stepped down. Within months, Václav Havel, a playwright once imprisoned for his ideas, became the president. But the revolution also had difficult sides. The sudden political shift created economic struggles. Many citizens had to rebuild their lives in a new system. The transition was not easy, and the country later divided into the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Change always comes with a cost. Why does this event matter today? Because it reminds us that history is shaped not only by armies or kings, but by ordinary people who refuse to give up. It teaches us that injustice cannot survive forever, and it asks every generation the same question. Will you accept the world as it is, or will you dare to imagine the world as it should be? The Velvet Revolution stands as a quiet but powerful message for our lives. When people stand together with patience, discipline, and hope, even the strongest chains can break without violence. And that lesson born in the cold streets of Prague on the November day still speaks to anyone who dreams of a better future. And yet, the deepest power of the Velvet Revolution was not political at all. It was emotional. It reminded a generation that silence is never the natural state of human beings. People are born to speak, to dream, to question, and to hope. For years, fear had pressed heavily on everyday life. People whispered in their homes. They avoided certain topics. They learned to hide their real thoughts. But on those November days, something changed. The fear slowly cracked, like ice breaking under the warmth of a rising sun. Crowds gathered in city squares, shaking keys in the air. Those keys symbolized the unlocking of a new future. A simple gesture, yet it carried the weight of decades. It told the government and the world one clear message. The door to oppression was closing. The door to freedom was opening. This moment matters because it shows that real change does not always come from force. Sometimes it comes from unity, from patience, and from the courage to step forward even when the outcome is uncertain. The Velvet Revolution teaches us that history can bend quietly, without weapons, without destruction, without hatred, but only when people stand as one. This is the negative side history often hides. After every revolution comes the long, difficult work of building a society worthy of the victory. And yet, the legacy remains powerful. Today, when people around the world fight for their rights, they look to examples like this, examples that prove peaceful power is not weakness. It is strength in its purest form. In our own lives, the lesson is clear. Whenever we face challenges that seem too heavy, or systems that feel unmovable, we can remember November 17th. We can remember a nation that stood. And we can remember that even the quietest voices, when united, can reshape the world.